the DOJ about a week before they released it, and they basically said, "Hey, Pruitt, you know, what's on the table is where we at." And I hope the city agrees to it, because if they don't, you know, we're gonna sue them, because we're not going to bag off the reforms that we got in here that we think needs to happen in order to protect people's rights. And they thought that they had a pretty good understanding with the city of Ferguson. Of course, the city started hosting these public meetings. Outcome of the public meetings, they took a vote on it as Ferguson's council, and they all voted to modify and send the report back to DOJ with some changes that just were not acceptable. And Loretta Lynch and the DOJ did the proper thing immediately. They filed suit. Now, I think the backdrop to all of this is this, because we have to understand it's politics, it's gamesmanship, and it's everything else. So Ferguson hires this attorney that handle a couple of cases like this out west, and I think they're paying this guy $1,500, $2,500 an hour or whatever. He's well paid. So he represents the city. He's a part of all these negotiations, and he's a part of this final document.
And who is this person again?
Oh, I can't think of the lawyer's name right now. Well, he's white, so I mean, let's just
we know
say
that. We know that.
Not that there's anything wrong with him being a white lawyer. I'm just saying. I mean, it wasn't a brother. So
yeah.
And but so they negotiate this, and so now they're looking at this plan that could cost them. Some speculate $1.5 million a year. Some speculate $2 or $3 million the first year, and then maybe $1.5 million to $2 million each year thereafter.
Yeah, I heard it was like 1.2.
Yeah,
1.1,
well, it's all over the place.
Okay.
What they don't say is that the DOJ put in a report and said that these things that we asking you to do, we do provide grants for them.
Oh, okay.
And you are eligible to apply for those grants. And they've sort of told them verbally, you know, if you apply, you know, we're going to try to hook you up. But they wanted them to put that in writing, and then they can't put that in writing.
So let me ask you a question. So part of the heartburn of Ferguson was poor representation of people that look like the major demographic in the city. Sure. So we had an election last year, and it's half and half. Now, those same individuals are the ones that sent back the modifications without, I guess, in your opinion, reading the fine print and showing that whatever concerns or heartburns you think will happen from a financial implication is not the case. If people are trying to figure out how to get from problem to solution, and, you know, incrementally we say run for office and get the people that represent you to sit in that office, what do people do now when the folks who are voting, when given this, you know, dissent decree, this opinion, are still not acting in a way that creates the necessary outcomes to help with reform?
Well, one thing, though, it may be now the majority of the council may be black now, because they filled that seat, and they may have, and it may have been the African American women that the black people were supporting, So it could be, but the deal is that you're right. I think what the council did was say this. Now, this is my opinion, but I'm pretty well versed on people's motivation. They said this thing is going to cost us $1.5 million to $3 million if we say yes.
And that's without acknowledging the grant subsidies that was there.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if we say no and go to court, the worst thing that can happen to us is the court can say you have to do what they say do, which means that we didn't technically. They wind up having to accept what was on the table at the first place, so they didn't get hurt anymore.
So it's really nothing.
Doesn't it cost to go to court though?
Well, I mean, you know, it costs a little something, but when you start talking about, you know, spending $1 to $3 million a year over a period of 5-10 years, and you start looking at, you know, in court,
there's
may
a
cost you.
possibility that the court could say no.
The court can say no and pull the things back. Now, the court won't get them out, but the court may pull back some of the things, force them to negotiate where their cost is reduced. So as far as they're concerned, if that happens, over the long term, we may have a win.
Okay.
And so I think that's how they're trying to play the game.
It's strictly from a monetary standpoint. If we say no and have to go to court, it'll probably be a lesser cost. Are they also thinking that the government will fully subsidize because it's a mandate?
Well, I don't know if they think it's fully, but they just think that the worst thing can happen is the judge makes them take what's on the table now.
Anyway, so they have nothing to lose.
So they don't have that much to lose, and that if the courts allow them to modify any of it, they've actually gained something. And I think they did that more because and I'm gonna be honest, as the white people in Ferguson came to the public hearings and say, you know, this is gonna bankrupt us, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I think everybody was playing. I think everybody was playing to the constituents so they can say, okay, you told us not to accept it. We did what you asked. The court's gonna make us do it. So now don't vote against me.
Right. So in the meantime, right, while all this deliberation,
all this the play. I think that's the play.
So in your opinion, while all of this is under deliberation, we still have